Hello, I'm Dr. Carlton Sharp, pastor of Faith Christian Center Church here in Beaumont, Texas. I just wanted to come to you today to share this dynamic video of one of the most inspirational, authentic, and motivational speakers I've ever heard, Mr. Damon West. This is his personal testimony of redemption. Now, recently we had Damon come to speak to our youth group for our back-to-school event we called Battle Ready. Damon shared about the harsh realities of drug addiction, crimes, and the victims he created along the way. He explained how he went from being a D1 college quarterback to getting a 65-year sentence. It reminded me of the scripture in Luke chapter 22, verse 31 through 32. It says, "And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan had desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren." Thank God for his grace and mercy, which allowed Damon to be released from prison after only completing about 7 years of his sentence. Now Damon travels this country, engaging audiences with his personal testimony of the fall and rise of his life, with a message that will hit home with those that hear it. Whether you're a youth group, a football or basketball team, a school assembly, or even corporate America, I highly recommend that you hear this powerful testimony of redemption. Now listen, you can go to damonwest.org to get more information about having Damon come to speak to your group.
Y'all, it's always good to come back in places like this. I get to travel all over the country now. God has blessed me with an amazing opportunity in life, a second chance in life, to be able to go out and speak to young people all over the country. Yesterday, I was at SMU speaking to their football team, at Texas A&M speaking to their football team. Last week, I was at Clemson. I was at Kansas. Next week, I'll be at Michigan State and Alabama. And I just thank God for those opportunities, but it's tonight. It's opportunities like this to catch kids before the problem happens, right? To catch kids when they're young and tell them this story. Rarely is it ever a good idea in life to make your own mistakes when there's so many examples of others of what not to do. It's pretty stupid to make your own mistakes if you've got an example in front of you of some knucklehead or some hardhead that can tell you what not to do. Let my life, let my example be a warning to you of what not to do in life. But let it also be a message of hope, because wait till you see how the story ends. Let's start the story out somewhere in the middle. July 30th, 2008. I'm sitting around my little rundown apartment in Dallas, Texas. And I say this rundown apartment because I'm a meth head at the time. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm smoking a glass pipe with meth in it. I got my drug dealer next to me, this guy named Tex. And I'm smoking this meth in this glass pipe, passing the pipe back and forth to Tex. And I'm telling Tex, I think the end is near, man. I think the cops, they're going to come get me pretty soon. You see, about 10 days before this guy I've been doing all these burglaries with in Dallas, this guy named Dustin, had just been picked up by the police. So they're putting the screws to this dude. I know they're going to come get me. About that time, a window shatters. Psh, and tumbling across my living room floor is this little canister. Man, it's almost like a slow motion movie reel. And I get up to go look at this canister. Right as I get above it, bam! Blows up right in my face. Bright white light, loud noise. That stun grenade goes off, blows me back on the couch. When I came to, when I could see again and hear again, there's a cop standing over me in full SWAT riot gear. He's got his boot on my chest, and the barrel of his machine gun is sticking in my eye socket. And that barrel's cold. I can feel it up against my eye. And he's screaming, "Don't move! Don't move!" Man, I looked up at this cat and I blinked and I said, "Man, don't worry. Don't worry." Cops started flooding into my living room, and one of them screams out, "We got it. We got the Uptown Burglar." Y'all, that's a moniker I'll have to live with the rest of my life, the Uptown Burglar. You see, about a dozen other meth addicts and myself, young and old, male and female, black and white, because drugs don't discriminate. We indiscriminately and without reservation broke into the homes of dozens of people in the Uptown neighborhood of Dallas to feed our insatiable meth habit. But on July 30th, 2008, the Uptown burglaries came to an end. That was the day I was arrested. Or as I like to tell kids, that was the day I was rescued. God got me out of a situation I couldn't get myself out of. They zip-tied me, threw me in the back of that squad car, took me down to Dallas County Jail. Y'all, Dallas County Jail is nothing like Jefferson County Jail. Dallas County Jail has got 8,500 people in it at all times. It's like a little city. They took me down there, they fingerprinted me, mugshot, booked me in, threw me in this cold holding cell. I spent the first 24 hours. I got one thought going through my head that whole first night, and it's not about my victims, these people I hurt with these burglaries. It's not about my family, who I hurt the most, because kids, that's who we hurt the most when we make those mistakes, our families. It isn't even about that first-degree felony for organized crime I got hanging over my head with a possible life sentence. Man, I don't care about any of that. My one thought going through my attic head is, how the hell am I going to get high from in here now? Where am I going to get my dope from now? That's the only thought I have, y'all. Don't let this clean-cut, polished guy fool you with this college football championship ring on. I work for Provost on for a law firm. Don't let any of that fool you. I'm in recovery today, but if I'm in my addiction, I am living like an animal, and I'll steal from everybody in this room, because that's what addicts do. They do whatever they have to do to get their drugs. Y'all, I sat around that jail cell in Dallas County Jail for 10 months waiting to go to my trial, thinking about whenever I get out, man, I can't wait to do some dope. At the end of 10 months, I sat down for a 6-day trial. My parents came and watched and everything in Dallas County. 6-day trial. A jury heard witness after witness, victim after victim, police officer after police officer come out and testify about what I've been doing. That jury deliberated for 10 minutes on my punishment. 10 minutes. If you're sitting at the defense table and the jury's gone for 10 minutes, you're in big trouble. When they brought me back in that courtroom, that judge hit that gavel, bam, bam. Damon Joseph West, you are hereby sentenced to 65 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. They smoked me, y'all. That's a life sentence. Anything 60 and above is life. That's my first felony ever. Y'all, I'm the only football player in the history of this country, the NCAA, any division ever, to ever get a life sentence, to get a chance to get out and tell about it. I did 7 years and 3 months on that life sentence at the Mark Stiles unit right down the road. Made my first parole. You talk about a God thing, your first parole on a life sentence, and nobody but God can open those doors. Y'all, I got a story to tell y'all. Let me tell you what it's like inside of a maximum security penitentiary. But before I do that, let me tell you my backstory first. I grew up right down the road in Port Arthur, Texas. Grew up in Port Arthur, Texas. My father, Bob West, was a sports writer there for almost 50 years. He's the guy that made history back in 1971. You see, he was the first sports writer down in this part of the state to put a black athlete on the front page of a sports page. That athlete, Joe Washington. Some of the older folks in here might remember Joe Washington, little Joe. My dad still has a box of hate mail to prove what that decision was like. We go through it sometimes to look back and see how far we have not come in this country, right, with race. So we look at that sometimes. My mother's a registered nurse. She was a nurse for 35 years in Port Arthur, Texas. When a lot of white families were moving out of Port Arthur in the 70s and 80s, my parents dug their heels in and stayed. They wanted their kids to go to integrated schools. They wanted their kids to grow up in a melting pot of a city, and we did. And we were better for it. I'm telling you all this backstory to let you know how much this saved my life later on. I got an older brother named Brandon, younger brother named Grayson. We got this nice, knit, little happy family. But no family's perfect. We had problems too, y'all. Everybody's family's like a duck on water, y'all. A duck looks smooth when it's traveling across the water. God's most graceful creature, right? But what you don't see under that water is that duck's little web feet are paddling like crazy to get where he's going. He's churning that water up. And that's like most families. Most families are paddling like crazy too. 1985, all right, I'm 9 years old. I came out and told my parents my babysitter had been molesting me. And this is childhood sexual abuse in the 80s, y'all. They didn't know as much about it back then as they know now. They sent me to a counselor. They sent me to talk to the family priest, and we prayed about it. We prayed a lot. My mother was one of those mothers that had a crucifix or a prayer plaque in every room in the house. You couldn't escape God in this woman's home. You couldn't get away from it. You may have a mom like that, huh? Yeah, amen, amen. So they did everything they could, but something inside that little 9-year-old boy went to a really dark place. By the time I'm 10, I start drinking. By the time I'm 12, I start smoking pot. Y'all, I want y'all to remember this story because this whole story, where I ended up, started out with a can of beer and a joint. A can of beer and a joint. Seems harmless, right? No, it always escalates to something else. It never stays right there. I had a lot of behavior problems, but because I was a really good football player, because I could throw a football really well, I got out of all kinds of trouble, and I went looking for those breaks. Anytime I got in trouble, I'd raise my hand. Yo, man, it's D. West. It's your quarterback, right? I got a scholarship to play football at the University of North Texas. And when I left home, when I left Port Arthur for Denton, Texas to play football, all I had was one thing on my mind, and it wasn't school. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. It was about being that starting quarterback in college. That's all I cared about. I put all my eggs into one basket, y'all. Y'all, kids, you're going to come up to days in life that I like to call fork-in-the-road days. These fork-in-the-road days, you're going to be handed a problem. Life is going to hit you pretty hard. It's going to knock you down. Now, you're going to get back up, but you've got to make a choice when you dust yourself off. Am I going to go the right direction and make the right decision, or am I going the wrong way with the wrong decision? When I got hurt, July 21st, September 21st, 1996, against Texas A&M. That was the last game I ever played in college. My football career was over. I was 20 years old. I thought I was on top of the world being the starting quarterback, and now it's gone. So I got to that giant fork in the road in life, and I made the wrong choice, y'all. I put in cocaine, ecstasy, pills. I drank all the time. Whatever could numb the pain, I was doing it. I did everything but go to God. The wrong thing. Y'all, somehow by the grace of God, I graduated college in 1999. I went to Washington, D.C. to work in the United States Congress. Y'all know that big Capitol building you see on TV all the time? I worked in that building every day. And after that job, I worked for a guy running for president of the United States. And after that job, I went to train to be a stockbroker in Dallas, Texas for one of the biggest Wall Street banks in the world. It was at that job in Dallas where I was introduced to methamphetamine for the first time. Y'all, if y'all don't pay attention to anything I say today, remember this. Meth is the most evil, most addictive drug ever created by man. I smoked that drug one time, y'all, one time, and I was instantly hooked. Bam! Y'all, I was up for 4 days the first time I smoked that drug. That's Monday through Thursday, y'all. That's 100 hours. And I couldn't give up everything quickly enough. I gave up my job. I gave up my home, my car, my family, my tethering to God, my sanity. I gave all that up freely. I went from working on Wall Street to living on the streets of Dallas, sleeping on park benches, sleeping in alleyways. Yeah, that's what I said. Don't let this clean-cut guy fool you, because I'm in recovery today. I'm not in my addiction. I fell in with a bunch of other dope fiends. About 15 of us living in a trap house in East Dallas. All we do is sit around and smoke dope all day long. Talk about we're going to get higher and higher. We have a fundamental problem with our operation. We don't have jobs. So what do you think we do for our dope? We steal. We steal because that's what dope addicts do. Dope fiends do anything they have to do to get drugs. And people with addiction, they're not bad people. They're sick people. They're suffering from a disease. And I got that disease. I'm an addict. So, y'all, we start breaking into storage units, breaking into cars, and eventually we escalate to home burglaries. Let me tell you something. Whenever you break into someone's home, whenever you commit you know what? No. Accountability. When I broke into people's homes, when I stole from these people, let me tell you what I took from these people. Anybody that's ever been the victim of a burglary is going to know exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't just take these people's property, because I did. I took a lot of property and hurt a lot of people. I took something more important than their property. I took these folks' sense of security. There are people going home in Dallas, Texas right now, sticking their key in the door, thinking about Damon West. Man, Damon West. That man that came into my home, crossed that threshold into my home, went where my children sleep, it stole my sense of security. And that's not all. Man, when I would break in these homes and they'd have a safe, I'd take that safe out, take it by a dumpster somewhere in downtown Dallas, pop that safe open. I'd get in there and take all the things the dope man's going to take for trade. I'd take the money, the jewelry, but the things I didn't take, the things the dope man didn't want, photo albums. People put their most prized possessions in safes. Photo albums with baby pictures, pictures of old relatives, family events, things you can't replace. Family heirlooms. They don't make two of those, and I couldn't smoke it, so I threw it in the dumpster. These people lost a lot because of me. I always make it a point to talk about my victims because they are the most important part of my story. But on July 30th, 2008, that Dallas SWAT team put an end to the uptown burglaries. So now we're back where we started. I'm in that jail cell. I've been in there 24 hours thinking about doing dope. How am I going to get my dope? They come and bang on that door. West, come with us. Dallas County Jail's got it's a labyrinth of mazes down there of tunnels. And you never see the sun when you're in Dallas County Jail. They take me as far away as they can, stick me in the worst pod they can find. These folks are mad at me. They stick me in that pod. Within 24 hours, I'm in my first fight in jail over a breakfast tray. Man, I'm scared to death, y'all. Don't let me talk about I wasn't scared. I was scared to death. They have these phones in the day room, these blue day room phones. So I thought, you know what? I had a family that once loved me. Remember that family I was telling you about? I was like, you know what? I want to call my family, even though I've pushed them out of my life with lies for the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't even take their phone calls anymore. They can't even find me. I wonder if they know what happened to me. So I picked up that day room phone and I called. Now my old man's in his 70s now, that sports writer with that good moral compass. Man, he picked up that phone. I've never seen my dad cry before in my life. But I heard him cry that one time. At one time when I called home, he's screaming in the phone, Damon, how'd we go so wrong with you, man? How'd we mess up so bad? And the worst part was, what could we have done different? Because that's what our parents want to know. Our parents want to know, how can they take responsibility for the things we do? It's sad. My dad's sitting there beating himself up over the things I did. Man, he can't talk because he's crying. I can't talk because I'm crying. My mom, that strong-willed woman, that nurse, she's used to traumatic situations. She snatches that phone out of my dad's hand. She says, baby, your dad can't talk. She said, I've never seen him broken down like this before in my life, but we need to have a conversation. She said, first of all, you need to know that you are loved unconditionally. That is the deal we made with God, what God loaned you to us. She said, do you know that you are loved unconditionally, Damon? Do you hear me? I said, through the tears, I told my mom, yeah, Mom, I got it. I'm loved unconditionally. She said, that's good, baby, because we just gave you back to God. She said, you're in Dallas County Jail now. Joker, there is nothing we can do for you anymore. And I'll never forget what she said. She said, you are now a captive audience to God, and you better start listening. She asked me a question. She said, baby, do you remember that prayer plaque I had above your wall in your bedroom as a kid? Remember I told you my mom had these plaques, these crosses everywhere in the house? Well, she's asking about the one that I had in my bedroom growing up for 18 years. And I'm coming off that dope, y'all. I've been on dope for 4 years. My brain isn't even working right. So I tell my mom through those tears again, I said, no, Mom, I don't remember. She said, baby, it's footprints in the sand. Do you remember the story of footprints in the sand? And I thought long and hard, y'all, and I was like, no, Mom, I don't. So my mother patiently and lovingly retold me the story of footprints in the sand about a guy walking on the beach with God. And every time something good happened, they're watching a video of his life. And every time something good happened in this man's life, there's two sets of footprints walking side by side. But every time something bad happens, when there's pain, there's hurt, there's suffering, there's loss, when he loses his football career, there's one set of footprints. Finally, the guy calls God out and says, God, what's up, man? Every time something good happens, you are walking with me, man. But when something bad happens, man, you abandon me, God. I can see it, one set of footprints. She said, Damon, that's when God said, you fool. Every time you saw one set of footprints, I didn't abandon you. I carried you. Boy, she started screaming at me like a coach. She said, baby, look down in that jail cell right now. She said, there's one set of footprints in that jail cell, and they're not yours, buddy. Get on God's back. I don't want to lose my son. So, y'all, I started talking to a God I hadn't talked to since I got hurt in 1996. And this conversion doesn't happen overnight. Let me tell you about what I prayed to God for 10 months. Check this prayer out. Dear God, please get me out of this jam. And if you do, there I am bargaining with God. Like God waits for me to wake up every morning so we can run that universe together, right? Yeah. If you get me out of this jam, God, get me probation, I'll be a normal guy again, I'll get a job, and I'll just smoke meth on the weekends, God. Yeah. That's the best I could come up with. God wasn't playing that. They smoked me at that trial for a reason. Happens just like it does in the movie, kids. Anytime you get a life sentence like that, the bailiffs are on you quick. They come back to you and they throw your arms behind your back. They handcuff you. They shove you out of that courtroom. My parents are sitting in that first row, and all I can think to say when I see my mom is, I'm sorry, Mom. They take me out that courtroom, throw me in this little side room. They got a bulletproof glass right there. And I'm waiting to see who's going to come in the other side of that bulletproof glass because they set me down. My parents walk in. And my dad can't talk. He is in stunned disbelief, man. He just saw his son get a life sentence by a jury. My mother, that strong-willed Christian woman with that good relationship with God, she does all the talking. She says, baby, debts in life demand to be paid. That's a lesson in life, kids. If you owe a debt, you're going to pay it. One day you will pay that debt. She said, debts in life demand to be paid. And you just got hit with a hell of a bill from the state of Texas. She said, but you did the things they said you did. So you're going to prison. You're going to do that time right. And you're going to get on God's back like I told you. But check this out, buddy. You owe us a debt too. Your father and I gave you all the love and opportunity and support to be anything you wanted to be in life, and this is how you repay us? I don't think so. She said, when you go into that prison, you are not going to get into a gang. You're not going to get some white hate group because you're the minority in prison now. She said, you were raised in a giant melting pot of a city, and we gave you a great moral compass. She said, you better use that, buddy. She said, no tattoos either. No gangs, no tattoos. Y'all see any tats on me? My mom said I couldn't get any, man, so I didn't get any tattoos. All right? So she said, no gangs, no tattoos. She said, do you understand this debt you're going to pay? And I was like, yeah, Mom, I got it. Y'all, I had no clue what I just promised my mom. I'm 32 years old, 33 years old at the time. I had no clue what I just promised my mom. When I got back to that jail cell in Dallas County Jail, I found out I had 2 months before that prison bus was going to come pick me up. So I'm asking around, y'all. I'm inquisitive. I ask a lot of questions. I'm very coachable because I played sports. So I'm asking everybody in there that's been to the joint before, hey, man, how am I going to survive prison? And every man, black, white, Hispanic, is telling me the same thing. Dude, you're going to have to get to a gang, Wes. You just got a life sentence. And when you get a life sentence in Texas, they send you to a separate part of the prison system. They're going to throw you in a building for 5 years. You don't come off that building except to go to the chow hall, to go to the chapel, and to go to the law library. You're going to have to fight the entire 5 years if you don't get into a gang. Man, just get into a gang. All but one man in there told me the same thing about that gang. This one guy, this old black guy named Jackson. And I called him Mr. Jackson out of respect because Mr. Jackson was an older guy. He's in his 60s. Been to prison 4 or 5 times. Mr. Jackson pulled me aside one day. He says, man, I've been watching how you're dealing with all these knuckleheads, these dummies. Talk about you got to get into a gang. He said, man, don't listen to them. You keep that promise you made to God and that promise you made to your parents. He said, I'm going to lace you up. I'm going to give you the game on prison. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. Mr. Jackson told me, first thing you need to understand about prison, it's all about race. Race runs the entire institution. He said it's the most disgusting environment you've ever seen in your life. He said, when you get into that day room, you're going to see a TV set. In front of the TV set, you're going to see benches. That first bench is for the blacks. Don't sit on that bench. You get your head smashed in. He said, that next bench is for the Hispanics. Don't sit on the essays bench. The essays will smash your head in too. He said, that third bench, if there's a third bench, that's for the white folks. He said, if there's no third bench, y'all sit on the floor. That's the way prison works. He's telling me this so I won't get to a wreck over race. He said, second of all, if you're not going to get to a gang, and you said you're not, you are going to fight every white gang in there, man, because they feel like they own you. They own you, and you're supposed to be with them. He said the Aryan Brotherhood, the Aryan Circle, the White Knights, the Woods, he's naming all these gangs. Man, my head is spinning. He said you're going to fight them all. And if you survive that without getting to a gang, then you're going to fight all the black gangs because they're going to send them after you. The Crips, the Bloods, the Gangster Disciples, the Mandingo Warriors, they're all coming for you because you are supposed to get with your race. He said, but Wes, let me tell you something about prison fight. He said, you don't have to win all your fights in prison, but you do have to fight all your fights. That's a lesson in life, y'all. You don't have to win all your fights in life. Nobody is that good to win all your fights anyway. Nobody is perfect. You are going to lose. How do you handle those defeats? Then he gave me an analogy, y'all, and I tell kids this all over the country. He said, Wes, imagine prison's like a pot of boiling water. And inside that pot of boiling water, anything we put in that atmosphere is going to be changed. That atmosphere is hot. The pressure is high. He said, I'm going to put 3 things in that pot of boiling water we call prison. A carrot, an egg, and a coffee bean. He said, first things first. He said, let's put that carrot in that pot of boiling water. What happens when you boil a carrot, y'all? That turns soft. That's right. He said that carrot went into prison hard, came out soft. Prison made that carrot soft. That carrot got beat. He got robbed, and he got raped. He may have gotten killed in prison. You don't want to be the carrot. He said, well, let's take that egg. What happens when you boil an egg, y'all? Turns hard. That's right. He said that egg had that hard outer shell, that soft liquid inside. But prison changed that egg. That atmosphere changed that egg. Turned him hard on the inside. Now he's incapable of giving or receiving love. He said that egg can stay in prison the rest of his life because he's going back the rest of his life. He's institutionalized. He said, but West, if I take a coffee bean, the smallest of these 3 things, that coffee bean, and I put a coffee bean in a pot of boiling water, what happens when you put a coffee bean in boiling water, y'all? Somebody said it turns to coffee. That's right. It turns coffee. He said that coffee bean, the smallest of these 3 things, had the power to change that water, change the entire atmosphere in that pot. It's the only thing that changed the atmosphere. The atmosphere changed everything else. He said if you're going to survive prison, you're going to have to be like that coffee bean. He said everybody in life puts out energy. He said if you're negative, you walk around with a scowl on your face all the time, guess what kind of person you're going to attract? The same kind of negative person. He said, but if you're positive, you walk around and let those dudes know they're not getting to you with a smile on your face. He said, you will attract other positive people. You will attract other coffee beans. He said, Wes, he said, in life, you are going to either effect everybody around you or you're going to infect everybody around you. Your energy is going to do that. He said, so Wes, go out there and go be that coffee bean. Be like that coffee bean and change that prison. And the other coffee beans are going to find you. So y'all, with that, I was off. Jackson gave me one last piece of advice before I got on that bus. He said, man, when you get to your unit of assignment, he said, you walk in that first pod, he said, put your bags down, put your back up against the wall. You're on the life sentence building now. He said, wait for it to happen. The first guy comes up to you, first little white dude comes up to you, don't worry about him. He's not coming to hurt you. He's coming to get information. But that second guy, man, when he gets within range, he said, put your fist in his mouth. He's coming to hurt you. So y'all, I went to prison, riding on those white buses. They call them bluebirds. Just a cage on wheels, y'all. You're chained up to another man. He needs to go to the bathroom. You got to go to the bathroom. That's the way it works. You get off that bus, they unhandcuff you, they strip you, they body cavity search you, they yell at you, they spit on you, they shave your head, they run these tests on you, they poke you, they prod you, they get your DNA, and after that, they send you to your unit of assignment. My unit of assignment was the Mark Stiles unit right down the road. I pass by that place every single day now. Y'all, when I got to the Mark Stiles unit, I was scared to death. Don't let me talk any kind of noise in here. I was scared to death, y'all. But I did what Jackson said. When I walked in that pod, G-Pod 2 section, looking for 45 cell. That was my cell. I walked in that pod. I put my mattress down and my bags of commissary down, put them back up against the wall and waited. Within 10 minutes, here he come. Little white dude, got no teeth in his head, coming up with a bunch of swastikas all over him. Yo, white boy, what's up, man? What family you riding with? They call gangs families in prison. A gang isn't a family. Gang's the furthest thing from a family. A family puts money on your books. A family takes your phone calls. A family writes you on your birthday and the holidays. I've never seen a guy in a prison that was in a gang ever hear from another gang member that left the joint. Never hear from him again. That's not a family. I've never seen a guy on the street in a gang that ever had any kind of love from a gang member that a family can give you. And this little cat right here is asking what family I'm riding with. Hell, I got a family. I told that dude, man, get away from me, little man. I'm riding with God. He laughed at me. He said, God isn't even in here, man. But we are, and we're coming to get you, white boy. He takes off. Doesn't take 10 more minutes, and here he comes. Just like Jackson said, this big old corn-fed white boy. I mean, this dude is big, man. This dude is big. He's bald-headed, skin-headed dude, got swastikas all over his neck, lightning bolts up his arm. Remember what Jackson said, right? Gets within range, put your fist in his mouth. Man, he got within range. I gave him everything I had. This dude dropped me in 20 seconds, y'all. Dropped me. Yeah, don't let me come up trying to tell you like some story like Rocky, some little white guy goes into prison and beats everybody up. That's in the movies, y'all. Yeah. Remember what Jackson said? You don't have to win all your fights, but you got to fight all your fights. Y'all, I got in probably 3 dozen fights in prison, and I lost 75% of them. But I won by showing up. I won by showing up. I fought that dude that day that first fight was over, and I fought, and I fought. Eventually, I got through the white gangs. Now I'm on the Crips, the Bloods, Gangster Disciples, Mandingo Warriors. I'm fighting all these guys. It's not even one-on-one all the time. About 6 weeks of this, y'all. And every time, man, I'm scared to death, y'all. Every time they roll those cell doors and someone says, West, I want to look at you in the shower. Man, I dread those words. There's nothing gay about that. When someone says they want to look at you in the shower, that means you're going to box in the shower. Shower, you can box in the shower all you want. There's no cameras back there. There's no guards. And blood cleans up well out of those showers. I get tired of that, y'all. I decided one Monday morning, you know what? I'm going to do something different. Because I decided to take the limits off myself. There is nobody in life that can put limits on you but you. That person staring back at you in the mirror every morning, that's the only person that can put limits on you. If you let someone else put limits on you, that's on you. That's what I told myself that morning. I looked in the mirror that day, and I said the most powerful sentence in the English language. It's 10 words and 20 letters. If it is to be, it is up to me. If it is to be, it is up to me. 10 words, so powerful. God gave you free will. So I was going to go exercise that free will that Monday morning on that rec yard. Remember me telling you how prison is all about race and segregated? You want to talk about a segregated place? The rec yard on the life sentence building? Whew. Man, look, check this out. You go to that rec yard, look across the way, they got a sand volleyball court. That sand volleyball court's for the whites and the essays only. No blacks on the sand volleyball court. They got a handball court over here. Now, you can play with multiple races over there, but if you want to play doubles, you got to partner up with somebody the same race. Same on the weight stack. You want someone to spot you, better look like you. But I'm not looking at any of those sports that day. I'm looking at that basketball court. I'm looking to earn some respect. Who do y'all think runs the basketball court in Life Sentence building? The brothers. That's right, and they run it. They run it, boy. But check this out. I've been the only white guy on a basketball court before. I grew up in Port Arthur, Texas. Man, I've been across on the west side playing across the tracks. I know how to be the only white guy, and I'm a good athlete. I'm picking off some of these dudes in my head. I'm thinking, man, I'm better than that chump, and that chump. But I can't get on this court because no white people are allowed in that basketball court in that Life Sentence building. But they got a flaw in their system, too. Most people do. Check this out. I've been watching these cats for a couple of weeks. Every time their game is over, they're going to shoot for teams. Y'all know what shoot for teams is, right? First 2 guys to make shots get to be team captains. So I see this is a lopsided game. I get on the side of the court. I know the game's going to end. And everybody's looking like, what is this crazy white boy doing out here, man? I'm not even supposed to be on that court. That ball goes through that hoop for that last point, and I'm standing right by that net. I go and fall on that ball like a fumble drill in football. Man, when I got up, that entire basketball court circled up around me, boy, and they are mad. They're screaming at me, man. Give us that ball, white boy. The hell you think you're doing, white boy? You don't even belong out here. Give us that ball. We're going to hurt you. Man, the toughest voice I could find, I said, man, you'll have to hurt me because I'm shooting for teams today. What? Man, these guys were incredulous, man. They're screaming at me. We're going to kill you, white boy. They're spitting on me. Biggest dude out there, man. This guy named J Blood. Big old Blood from Houston. J Blood walks up and says, you know what, white boy? Get on the line and shoot that shot. I hope you make it. So y'all, I'm standing at the free throw line with this basketball going, man. Yeah, real talk. Woo! This ball feels like a medicine ball at this point. I'm like, man, Damon, what in the hell have you got yourself into, man? Have you lost your mind? This may be the dumbest thing you've ever done, Damon. But y'all, I'm desperate at this point. I'm tired of fighting, y'all. I'm tired of it. So I'm going to earn some respect. I got 2 choices, y'all. If I miss this shot, they're going to kill me. Because I didn't just disrespect the basketball court that day. I disrespected the entire race. That's going to spread like wildfire. I won't be able to move around that joint. But if I make it, they're going to hurt me. They're going to honor that. They're going to let me play. But they're going to hurt me. because I don't belong out there. So I sink my shot. Jay Blood sinks his shot. He picks his team. He picks his 4 guys. I pick my 4 guys. We get a 5-on-5 game, right? Wrong. It's 9-on-1. Man, my own teammates don't want me out there. And this is basketball in the Life Sentence Building. There's no guards. There's no referees. There's no fouls. A foul? Man, you can punch, you can kick, you can scratch, you can bite, pull hair, whatever you want to do. That's just basketball out there in the Life Sentence Building. Yeah. Man, we go out there that first day, I come out with a black eye and a busted lip. Man, I haven't even touched the ball, man. I come back on Tuesday morning, I look in that mirror again, and a mirror in prison isn't a mirror, it's a dingy piece of steel that you can kind of see a reflection in. Anybody that's ever been to prison knows what I'm talking about. There's no mirrors in prison. But I look in that little piece of mirror that'll show my reflection, show the man looking back. And I said, if it is to be, it's up to me. I go back out there that Tuesday morning, and these dudes are laughing at me hard. A lot of people laughed at me when I first got to prison. Hey, white boy, we thought you had enough yesterday, man. I said, man, I thought you boys were playing basketball today. What? And Jay Blood stepped up. He said, you know what, white boy, you're on my team today. And, man, they gave it to me worse than they did the day before. And I gave it back every time I could, because that's the whole point of this exercise, to earn some respect. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm back out on that court. And Saturday, man, Saturday is when it happens. Saturday in prison, everybody goes to the rec yard. Y'all, there's 432 people on 7 building where I live. Everybody's got a life sentence, and everybody's on the rec yard. And by this point, this late in the week, man, they're picking me to play on every team. Everybody wants to get a piece of white boy and beat him up. Oh, man. So we're out there playing, and that change happens. And look, I play defense. All I do out there is play defense. I haven't shot that ball since Monday when I shot for teams, right? I'm standing out there darn near at half court. We're on offense. I'm almost at half court. I'm waiting for the guys to get the ball, play defense. And somebody passed me the ball. Man, I shoot this thing and I miss it. I'm like, ah. But eventually they pass me the ball again and again, and I make a shot, and I heard the change. Somebody said, good shot, West. West. Man, I wasn't white boy anymore. Y'all know how derogatory it is to hear someone call you by the color of your skin? Yeah, I wasn't white boy anymore. I was West. And after that game was over, they circled up around me like they did 6 days before. And Jay Blood stepped up. He said, man, you pulled something off out here we have never seen a white boy pull off before. You took everything we had, and you gave it back when you could, and you never disrespected us as a race. He said, man, you have earned our respect. You don't have to worry about the blacks the rest of the time you're in prison, man. We got your back on this, Wes. And, y'all, that felt good. But you know what the first thing I thought about? Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, that coffee bean. Because you can't just think of how uncomfortable it was for me to be the only white guy on the basketball court. Think about how uncomfortable it was for them, man. All those years of learned behavior and learned beliefs that says that a white guy's not supposed to be out there. How do you think they felt? I must have been like an alien on a different planet with them. What the heck is this guy doing? But in 6 days, everybody made a change. In 6 days, everybody was coffee beans. And every time those guys went to play basketball, they stopped by G545, still banging that door. Come on, Wes, let's go shoot some hoops. I belonged finally. And when that threat of violence got off my back, man, I could do some real work. I quit looking at prison as a punishment, and I started looking at prison as an opportunity. This is my opportunity. I don't know when I'm getting out of prison, y'all. I have no clue. But this is my opportunity to grow in 3 ways every single day: spiritually, mentally, and physically. You're going to hear kids, people say you are what you eat. They're not just talking about food. They're talking about what are you feeding yourself? What kind of books are you reading? What kind of videos do you watch? Spiritually, yeah. Spiritually, what are you feeding yourself? Do you even feed yourself spiritually? Do you tap into God? Because you're going to look like whatever you put into your body. That's just the way it goes. And when I got that knowledge, I learned what the secret to life was. The secret to life. Let me just tell it to you. People sell books. You don't need Anthony Robbins to go sit in a seminar and tell you what the secret to life is. The secret to life is serving others and being humble. That's it. The secret to life is helping other people achieve their station in life they want to get to. Helping people up. That's all it's about, y'all. It ain't about you. It may start with you, but it ain't about you. And that's what I learned. It's not about Damon West. Damon West has been selfish all his life. Y'all, I couldn't take college classes in there because I had a college degree, but I could teach people how to read, how to write, guys taking their GED test. I did everything I could. These guys came into prison. These guys, they call them the Acts guys. And it's a church group. They come in for 4 days, and they bring Jesus in. And I saw a transformation happen with these inmates. These men came in and volunteered their time. They left their families and their jobs for 4 days. They came into a prison and took 66 of us through a retreat. And, man, I saw the biggest, baddest guys in the joint crying like babies when it was over. And I knew they were working with something. They taught me 2 words: servant leadership. And at first you hear servant leadership, you think, well, wait a second. A servant can't be a leader. A servant does menial tasks and does all the chores. No, a real leader knows how to serve. And that's when I learned about servant leadership. And when I learned about that, I read a bunch of books. I read everything I could in prison. I read history, philosophy, novels. I read fiction, nonfiction. I read everything I could get my hands on, a book every other day. And when I read about the history of the world religions, I read every religious book I could. The Veda, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible. I read them all. And at the center, at the core of all those religions, Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, there are 4 spiritual principles that are at the same for all of those religions. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. Unselfish, honest, pure, and loving. If you're not living in these 4 spiritual principles, then you are on the other side, where it's selfish, self-seeking, self-want. You see all these self-words coming up? Self-desire. And the worst one of them all, self-delusion. Y'all know what self-delusion is? Self-delusion is when you believe your own crap. That's when you think you're something you're not. Yeah, self-delusion is what Damon West was living in all his life. But now, I'm a passenger in the car, and God is driving. I'm on God's back like my mom talked about. Finally. Yeah. This happens in prison, y'all. And when I go to a recovery meeting one day, someone broke it open for me. They taught me what the Serenity Prayer was about. Because I had heard the Serenity Prayer all my life. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So he diagrammed the prayer one day. He drew a line on the chalkboard from one side to the other. And he said, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. He said, Damon, everything on that line is God's line. But don't think about it like a chalkboard. Think about it from horizon to horizon. That's how big God's line is. Everything on that line you cannot change because you can't touch. Stay off of God's line. He said, the courage to change the things I can. He took his fingers an inch apart and went and erased an inch out of that line. He said, that's your line right there. That's what God gives you to work on every single day. He said, let me save you the suspense. There's 4 things inside that line that you control in life. Everything else out of your control. The 4 things you control in life: what you think, what you say, what you feel, and most importantly, because everybody's going to see this, what you do. That's all you control in life, y'all. That's it. What you think, say, feel, and do. That's all you get to work on in life. So work on it hard, because the last line of the prayer is the wisdom to know the difference between that and that. And y'all, once I had that knowledge and I started living my life right, I came up with a better prayer. Today, I still say the same prayer that I learned in recovery in prison. I pray for 2 things every morning, just 2 things. God, put in front of me what you need me to do for you today, and let me recognize it when I see it. That's all I pray for, y'all. That's it. That's all I need. And everything else is taken care of. They rolled those doors for parole, November 16th, 2015. And I'm here to tell y'all, it is a whole different life now. And remember this, no matter what you've done in your past, you don't live in your past. There is a reason why your windshield is bigger than your rearview mirror. You need more space to look forward. The past, man, that's my lesson. The present, this is my gift to y'all, so you don't ever have to do that. The future, y'all are the future. Y'all are my motivation. I got a call to action for everybody in this room. Everybody in this room, young and old. You go home and you tell one person Mr. Jackson's story about that coffee bean. You tell them that, but in your story, your pot of water is not prison. That's my story. You don't have to go to prison because I gave you that story. Your pot of water is life. Life is going to turn the heat up on you. How will you respond? Yeah. Will you be like that carrot that turns soft? No. No one wants to be that carrot. You going to be like that egg that turns hard, incapable of giving and receiving love? No. No one wants to be that egg. You're going to be like that coffee bean. You tell them about that coffee bean that went in there and changed the entire environment around it. That had to change the name from water to coffee because that coffee bean says, you know what, turn the heat up. My challenge to everybody in here, go out there and go be a coffee bean. Y'all, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for letting me talk to y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you.